Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. There will be a Game 7 after Derrick White put back. Last second heave by Marcus Smart to force, of course, the Game 7 back in Boston. Sherrod Blakley, Bobby Manning here in Miami, where we saw something that, frankly, never seen before. Only 3 teams, and I guess the last was in 2003, came back down 0-3, and the fashion in which this team did it at this point through increased defensive intensity, through a couple hot shooting nights, second half of Game 4, and then through Game 5 and tonight. Just wildness, calls left and right, big Tatum performance, and then White finishing it off when they denied Brown and Tatum the ball there late.
Yeah. I mean, this game is going to be remembered well beyond this postseason. I mean, when you think about, Larry Bird and the steal and the pass to DJ for the layup, this game, that moment where Derrick had, is going to be one of those iconic moments in this franchise history, simply because of the play itself, the timing, and what it meant. I mean, if the Celtics go on and win Game 7 and become the first team to ever rally from 3-0 to win a series, that play is going to be, certainly when you look at the major factors in their comeback, it's going to be at or near the top of that list. And give Derrick White credit. I mean, that's just understanding your teammates around you. I mean, he could have easily just stood in the corner and just hoped that Marcus would pass him the ball, but he knew Marcus was looking to shoot. One dribble, made his move to the basket, and was in a perfect place for the perfect play for the Celtics to get the perfect win.
And Marcus did say after they learned from that game in Philadelphia, I think the Game 3, I want to say off the top of my head, where they didn't get a shot off at the end.
Right.
So it wasn't a great shot. We were all laughing in the hallway after, me and a couple other people, where it was like, if Smart misses that and they lose, it's like, why is Smart shooting that? Screwed up last play. But it was a good read from White, and White's been so good. It's all about him through this comeback. He disappeared for a lot of the Philly series. He was great round 1. It's been great the last couple of nights here, not only hitting shots, ridiculous 6 for 8 in Game 5 from 3, but defending Butler, and he did it again tonight, handling those switches, blocking him often. All defense first team for a reason for making plays like that, and just staying consistent out there, and they need him even more tonight with Malcolm Brogdon out.
CLNS Media's Celtics coverage is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win.
And maybe most important when you talk about his defense, you have to look at the fact that Jimmy loves that baseline fadeaway. He did not get to that spot very much. And when he was looking to kind of go into that motion, either Derrick didn't allow him to get there or there was help so that he couldn't get to his sweet spots. And that is the key to defending Jimmy Butler. You can't let him get to his sweet spots, knowing that at some point he's going to still figure a way to be impactful. And he was down the stretch. But he wasn't efficiently impactful, and that was, I think, a huge factor in Boston getting this win.
2 for 15 start. The thing no one wanted to talk about after, and I get it, is the last 4 minutes. A disaster. I mean, this will be what we would talk about if they lose this game, and it's a miracle that they did. They got lucky. Ball falls right in White's hand, and he puts it up and in. They add a couple seconds onto the clock that probably saved them the time to do that. But 0 for 6, the turnovers, slowing it down with a 10-point lead with 3:51 to play. We're sitting up there losing our minds. I'm sure everyone was behind the TV. They've done this so many times over the years, and they did it again tonight. Tatum with the ball, dribbling away. Bad shots, bad management of the game. And Joe's on the sideline not calling timeout either. So if they lose here, this is an all-time collapse. The result's the result, but it's just frustrating, especially knowing they need one more to see them close a game like this going into crunch time. You worry that they're not able to win a crunch time if it goes late in Game 7.
Well, it would have been a fitting end to what has been a chronic issue throughout the season, and that is closing close games down the stretch. But I think Game 7 is not going to be close. I really don't. I mean, I'm listening to Jimmy Butler, and he's talking about how if I had a typical game that I normally have, we wouldn't be in this situation. And you can say the same thing about Tatum, Jalen, Al. You can go down the line of players throughout this series who, if they played their normal game, it would be a very different outcome. Bottom line is, Game 7 is in Boston on Memorial Day. And that in itself is just going to be bananas. And then when you throw in the fact that what's at stake, a trip to the NBA Finals, a chance to not only get there, but for the Celtics to do it in a historic fashion, like no team in NBA history has ever done. You can't possibly draw up a better scenario for the Celtics to win a game going away.
It'll all be worth it. And like I said a couple shows ago, if you come back down 0-3, despite everything that got you there, I think it's proof as anything that for all this core's flaws and all the frustrations and all the moments this year where they're booed and we're freaking out and wondering what's going on with these guys, they're just that good. Yeah. They're just that talented. And when you're that good and when you're on the way to a championship, you do need luck, and they got lucky here tonight in Miami. A miracle, frankly. I think it's going to be the miracle in Miami.
Miami miracle.
Yeah.
That's what this game is going to be.
There was a bad one on the football field, but there's a good one now on the basketball court. Sherrod Blakley, Bobby Manning, an incredible finish. Derrick White with a late 3 that put them up 10. I think that's worth mentioning too. And then the putback and all the stops throughout. He might be on his way to an East Finals MVP if he can close this out with a big one back in Boston. I do think they'll need a blowout, as Sherrod said, to avoid what happened here late in this game. But it was all worth it, as we said. Celtics win an unforgettable one. For Sherrod Blakley, Bobby Manning, CLNS Media, Celtics All Access. We'll see you back in Boston on the Garden Report.
This segment of the Garden Report is brought to you by Factor. Visit factormeals.com/garden50 to get 50% off your first box. This edition of the Garden Report is also brought to you by Athletic Greens. Visit athleticgreens.com/garden for a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase.